It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does on a Wednesday, and great to have you with us. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes. It's a Sam-free Wednesday. Means we're going to chat with David Aardsma, do some baseball with him. Some more of my conversation with our friend Kavitha Davidson from yesterday, talking about the World Series. We'll get into it with her a little bit. But we start things out in the NFL, and who better to hang out with on a Wednesday than our man Matt Verderame, who does a terrific job with SI, their NFL insider, one of their NFL insiders over there. Also, the Matt Verderame Show available on Patreon. I didn't realize when I woke up this morning we'd be waking up to news about DeAndre Hopkins and the Chiefs. So the timing is perfect, seeing as you talk about the Chiefs a little bit. You had Patrick Mahomes saying recently, hey, we can win with what we got. Well, obviously, the organization didn't necessarily agree if DeAndre Hopkins is on their radar, are they?
Look, I think Brett Veach understood that without Rashee Rice, without Hollywood Brown, without Juju Smith-Schuster now for a little while, they were going to face a reckoning at some point. You can't rely on Justin Watson and Sky Moore and Mecole Hardman and just think that it's going to work out. Now, you could argue that logic and say that that's basically what they did a year ago and won it anyway, and they're 6-0 and all the rest of it. But I think this was a move to get ahead of some of those issues. And Hopkins is 32. But last year at over 1,000 yards, he's still a very good receiver. He's only signed through this year, so the Chiefs don't give up any kind of real pick. I mean, they give up a fifth that could turn to a fourth based on some conditions, but they have their first or second and 2/3, including, ironically, Tennessee's third-round pick. So all in all, I think for the Chiefs, it was really a pretty easy deal to make. And my understanding is Tennessee is also going to eat half the salary.
Oh, so that's huge.
The Chiefs also, are taking on about roughly $2.65 million in base this year instead of 5.3.
How are they winning with Patrick Mahomes from a statistical standpoint? This is something Sam always brings up. I mean, he loves to hammer away on Mahomes whenever he gets a chance because he's a Josh Allen guy. But how are they winning with Patrick Mahomes playing the way he has through the first 7 weeks? I mean, we know we know the defense on this is a juggernaut here, and Steve Spagnuolo can't get enough roses thrown his way. But give me some sense for, as somebody who watches every play of this team, how they're doing it.
Well, it is first and foremost defensive. I mean, they are, in my opinion, they're the best defense in the NFL. I mean, week in, week out, they don't give up points. They're fifth in points allowed, they're 10th in yards allowed, and half the time they're giving up a bunch of points and yards at the end of the game, so they don't care. Because they're up by 14 points, or up by 17 points. I think when you watch that defense, you pretty much recognize they're not going to give up more than 20 points most weeks. And offensively, as bizarre as it has been for Mahomes to this point in the year, they're 10th in yardage. Like, they're moving the football. They're 13th in points. It's not a great offense, but it's a good offense statistically. They have had struggles in the red zone, which date back to a year ago. They were good against San Francisco. They've been awful prior to that game. And I think, too, part of it is, look, Mahomes early in the year, his footwork was all over the place. He was running out of clean pockets. The left tackle situation has been in flux. That has not helped. But yeah, all told, man, I think a lot of it has just been that they've been churning guys in and out because of injury and everything else. And then and Mahomes has not played the standard at all. And that's kind of the scary thing. Like, they're 6-0. They've played one of the hardest schedules in football. And he has 6 touchdowns and 8 picks. Like, what does that look like if he goes on a 5-week heater where he throws 20 touchdowns and 1 pick? Do they win every game by 20 points? Like, what does it look like? So, look, their next 3 games are the Raiders, Tampa, and Denver. And then they play Buffalo. There's a real shot that they go to Buffalo 9-0, and we get DeAndre Hopkins against Amari Cooper and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I get that. You know what I can't understand, and this is a different conversation altogether. Playing the way he has, how is Patrick Mahomes still the second? I mean, he's bottom 10 in the league statistically. How is he second favorite to win the MVP? Like, I know Lamar Jackson is far and away, right now the MVP through the early part of the season, but how is Patrick Mahomes second?
Because they're undefeated, and I think Vegas is looking at it going, what if he goes on a heater? And we give away really good odds, and all of a sudden he ends up with 30 touchdowns and 10 picks.
It's interesting.
And they're 16-1. I mean, I think that's where this becomes really interesting. I don't think he's going to be the MVP of the league this year. His numbers are awful.
Yeah.
I do wonder though, like what happens if they handle their next 3 games and they beat the Bills and they're 10-0, and he has let's say he's in the top 10 yardage wise, but I don't know, 4 games from now, let's say he has 16 touchdowns and 10 picks, and they're 10-0. I mean, is he the MVP at that point? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so personally. I would say it would be fascinating if somehow they ended up undefeated and he had average numbers. No, I don't think they're going to be undefeated. But I think, look, Lamar Jackson is very much on his way to a 3rd MVP, which is nuts.
Yeah,
but it's in play for sure.
In this era with so much talent in the league, at the quarterback position, it is remarkable that Jackson is on the way to doing that. I only got a minute left in this segment. How does Hopkins instantly change what they do offensively, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, talking to people around the team this morning, I think the expectation is, look, he fits the Rashee Rice role. They're going to use him as a possession receiver. They'll play him inside. When Juju Smith-Schuster comes back, he'll go inside. Hopkins will play some outside and some inside. But he is going to be the possession guy that Rice was. And that should, in theory, open up Worthy down the field, which he's already been getting open. They've missed some, they've hit some, but that'll continue. And then Kelsey in the middle of the field. So I think Hopkins fills that Rashee Rice possession receiver role.
Matt Verderame does a great job on Patreon with the Matt Verderame Show. You could also check out his work over on SI.com on all things NFL. I'm going to hold you. I want to ask you a few more questions, and then we'll get you out. We still got David Aardsma coming up later on in the show, former big league reliever, to talk about the World Series. Hang out with us. Lots more to do. We continue the conversation on this Wednesday edition of the show, talking NFL with our good friend Matt Verderame from SI.com, their NFL insider. Also, the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon. Go and check it out. All right, we got our Chiefs dose. Talk about the team the Chiefs beat in the Niners. I mean, look, the Brandon Ayuk injury, what they're already dealing with McCaffrey. How close to, I mean, I get they're still in a division that's very winnable.
Right.
But at what point do you just start to say, you know what, this just isn't our year when you look at the injuries being sustained here and sort of how they plod forward over the final 11 weeks of the season?
Oh, I think, look, I'm not ready to say they can't make the playoffs and win the division.
They're still the favorite to win the division, Matt. It's crazy.
Well, they should be. The division's terrible. Seattle has beaten Atlanta and 3 teams that aren't worth talking about. I think they should be the divisional favorite, but they're not winning a Super Bowl with this team. No. They're not good enough. Purdy is, in my opinion, better than a lot of people think he is.
I agree.
But at the same point, Ayuk's gone for the year. We have no idea if McCaffrey's coming back and when he's coming back. And if he does come back, what the hell he looks like. Debo just got hospitalized for pneumonia, and now he's out of the hospital, thankfully. But that, listen, I don't think he's just going to come back and be feeling great by Sunday when they play Dallas. I think there's a real world here where the Niners get themselves right and they win 10 games, 11 games maybe even. But are they better than the Lions? No. Are they better than the Packers? I don't know. Maybe. We just saw him play the best in the AFC, and the Chiefs went in there and beat the hell out of him for 60 minutes. And I get the Niners are beat up, so are the Chiefs. So, I mean, it's hard to make a case that the Niners are going to go on a Super Bowl run. I don't see that in their future, but I still think they'll make the playoffs.
The situation that played out in Cleveland over the weekend with Deshaun Watson, and there's a lot of layers to this, obviously. The booing fans and all that, and I took the fans to task for sort of the way they handled that, and everybody's trying to decipher why they were booing or who they're booing in that situation. The broader picture here when it comes to Cleveland, I mean, this thing is a dumpster fire beyond dumpster fires.
Yeah.
What is the plan for this team right now looking like with Dorian Thompson-Green or Jameis Winston? I mean, this thing feels just irretrievably lost right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, to your point, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is
Robinson. Sorry, I said Green.
It's fine.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't really. In the words of The Rock, it really doesn't matter.
He's out for a little bit. Jameis coming in. Look, I'm not even going to get into the whole getting booed.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, fine. That is about the most frustrated fan base on earth. Now, I don't know what their plan is. I don't even know if they have a plan. I would tell you what I would do, which is they are currently picking third in the first round right now, as it sits. Tied for the worst record in the league. They pick third. I would take one of those quarterbacks early in this draft, and I would tell Deshaun Watson, stay home. We'll pay you. I don't care. Stay home. I'm done. We're done. We're moving on. We're turning the page. I can't do this anymore. Remove for a moment, as hard as it is, the off-field portion of this with Deshaun Watson. He is an atrocious NFL quarterback at this point. He's not a starter. You could argue he's not a backup. He has played horrific football in Cleveland. And if I'm the Browns, because of their infinite wisdom where they gave him a fully guaranteed contract in one of the most shameful things you'll ever see in professional sports, which is really saying something, the Browns are going to pay him either way. And you talk to people in the league and say, well, if they move off of him, then it's a sunk cost. Bro, it's a sunk cost. It's over. Like, whether or not you play him or not is irregardless. It is a sunk cost. Move on. And so on the Browns, I'd be like, look, he's out all the rest of this year. He's probably out the beginning of next year. What am I bringing him back for? What am I doing? For what reason? Why? You're not going to be able to trade him. I would tell him to stay home, enjoy his life. We'll send the check. Have a nice day. That's it. That's what I would do.
Yeah. I think that's well said. And I can almost hear your frustration, and you're not even a fan of the Cleveland Browns. So it's kind of interesting. Talk about other quarterbacks that aren't playing well or up to expectations, and I get that he isn't always on the field, but Anthony Richardson has not been good.
He's not.
I mean, the numbers bear it all out. They're a better football team when Joe Flacco is on the field. And in a win now sort of mindset for every team in this league when you have a shot, and in a league with so much parity after you get past the Chiefs, and a division that's winnable where you're only a game behind the Texans. What does the situation look like in Indianapolis right now with a healthy Richardson, but a Richardson not playing that well?
Yeah, I talked about this on my podcast on Monday. Look, Shane Steichen has a real interesting question at hand here. Like, what do you do? Because you are 4-3. You've won 4 of your last 5. You are a win away in week 8 because they play Houston from being tied for the divisional lead halfway through the year. I mean, that's not nothing. That's okay. That's where you want to be. And certainly you're in play for a wild card spot, even if you lose the game. And Joe Flacco has played well. And he has a long resume of playing well. And I get it. You're going to get these people who sit there and will tell you, well, hey, this is a long-term play and it's the future and they got to stick with Richardson. And I hear all that. And I'll tell you something right now. None of those guys in that room give a damn. None of them. They want to win now. Most of those guys, let's say 75% of them, they're not going to be there in 3 or 4 or 5 years. They don't care about Anthony Richardson's development. They don't care. And if you're Shane Steichen, that's part of the calculus with this.
Yes.
That is part of the deal. That is the way it works.
And I'll tell you right now, the 49ers are the perfect example of, a team in win now mode, and all of a sudden you get struck by injuries. You never know when the door closes, when the window closes, or for how long. I'm a Flacco guy, so I'd love to see him in there. Matt Verderame, always appreciate it, my friend. Check him out, SI and Patreon. Thank you, sir.
You got it, no problem.
All right, let's talk some baseball. World Series begins on Friday. And I am thrilled to have our friend David Aardsma hanging out with us on the show to preview the Fall Classic. Yankees and Dodgers. We all got what we wanted, David. Who's going to complain? Yankees Mets would have been fun. Yankees and Mets would have been fun for me being a New Yorker. But Yankees-Dodgers, I think it's going to be the highest rated World Series of the last 25 years from a TV standpoint. And I know people think that's far-fetched given the way the TV audiences are diluted these days because there's a zillion things to watch. And I also want to get your thoughts on this. I wasn't planning to talk to you about this, but now that it just came to mind, I will. A little detour. How important is a World Series like this for Major League Baseball? To have your biggest showcase, your two biggest franchises. It's Knicks Lakers, it's Lakers Celtics. It is everything you could possibly want if you are Major League Baseball. How important is it that they just get everything right? Now you can't get it right in terms of whether it's a good series or not. It should be on paper. But how important is it that this be the bonanza that we all think it's going to be?
Okay, I got to address one thing really quick. This is the World Series that nobody wants, but everybody secretly hates them so much that they want it, right? This is like your two biggest enemies facing each other. You're like, all right, like I'm the enemy of my enemy, but they're both my enemy. Okay, so they're trying. That's the thing about this that's going to be so huge and massive. You got the two biggest fan bases in all of baseball facing each other, East, West, all that stuff. The Ohtani, Yamamoto, Betts, Freeman, that group versus the Judge, Soto, Cole. It couldn't be better, right? It couldn't be a better, perfect matchup. Major League Baseball has to absolutely love it. All the fan bases that aren't Yankee-Dodger fans, they're the most hated. So this is going to be massive. And I think you're right. It's going to be tough to get the numbers, but you're going to have the streams. You're going to have when you start getting into the amount of views on a play and amount, when Judge hits it off the rafters or Soto has a double in the gap and he watches a ball, whatever. Every one of those views are just going to be through the roof. It's absolutely perfect, especially the idea that Soto's going to be the free agent. Yamamoto and Ohtani were the free agents, and so it's good. And Judge a couple of years ago was the free agent. So it's on so many different levels. It is absolutely perfect for Major League Baseball. Like you said, they're going to hit it. They're going to hit absolute gold. It's going to be perfect. I actually think the series is going to be an amazing series as well. Because both teams have holes, but both teams have so many good things going on at the same time. It is absolutely perfect because we all want to hate somebody. Everybody loves, and hating somebody will draw more fans to watch it than actually liking them.
How do you explain Giancarlo Stanton?
He's always been good.
No, but come on, this is next level stuff.
This is next level, but this was what they paid for, whatever it was 7 years ago when they actually paid him, right? This was the guy who, this was Mike Stanton. This is what he was doing every day until the knees started going out. And but we always saw glimpses. So what we're seeing is exactly what Giancarlo Stanton does in the regular season for a 10-game span. and then he kind of gets hurt. And then there's a little something. It just happens to be that time where he's healthy and he feels good, and everything is working perfect. Where he's behind Judge, he's behind these guys, and he's getting the balls to swing at right when he's healthy. We've seen this streak before. We see it every year for a short little period of time, and right now that period of time is hitting right before the World Series.
Yeah, but what blows my mind is there's so many times during the regular season where he looks overmatched, where he can't hit the fastball, and he's striking out a lot, and he's swinging and missing badly. Like, he is fighting off pitches. He is, he's spitting on good pitches and getting his pitch and getting that opportunity to hit a ball and working himself into counts and more favorable counts where he could do things. And it just seems like he zones in a different way. And I've heard Aaron Boone talk about this with him as well, that in the postseason, he just kind of zones in a different way.
He becomes the best version of himself, which is what they thought they were getting when they're signing. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We've seen this man, but we're seeing another level. We're seeing where he's taking at bats like a Juan Soto bat. Yeah. We're seeing him control every single bat. Like you said, there are times where he is overmatched. There's times where everything is falling apart for him, and it's just like, okay, you'll get a home run here and there, but not really great at bats. And now we're seeing really good at bats. We're seeing time. I mean, at the same time, World Series, when the lights come on, the best players are able to step up, and the best players just continue the good things that they do. And maybe that's what it is. It's just in his blood, to where when it actually matters, he's healthy, he's there.
How do you pitch to him right now if you're one of these guys on the Dodgers?
Hopefully you get Soto and Judge out and you don't have to pitch to him, and then you could go down the line and get to the batters behind him. Yeah. That's really all it is. And all honesty, what to me is what I've seen in the past, if you have to show him in to try to get him into that aggressive mode, the aggressive mindset, get him into swing mode. I don't see pitchers pitching him in right now. I see them pitching him away and letting him use his arms, letting him use and get really comfortable at bats. I want to see pitches in, make him uncomfortable, drop him on the ground. Well, not meaningfully.
No, I know what you mean. If you
drop him on the ground or if you hit him in the elbow, who cares? And then you throw that slider away. Then you throw that fastball down and away, and you create the in and out balance that I'm just not seeing guys do right now. I'm seeing up and down. I'm not seeing in and out.
How does this layoff affect? We'll start with the Yankees. We'll do the Dodgers in the next segment. But how does this layoff affect the Yankees?
I think both teams. I'm just going to throw this out there for both teams. It's great. It's at a good time where both teams kind of are beat up. Freddie Freeman especially is just beat up. The Yankee bullpen, man, is beat up. The Dodgers bullpen is beat up. I mean, the rotation's as beat up as it ever gets, but they're not even going to play. So I think both teams needed rest. It's just, for me, Major League Baseball should be playing tonight. It should be playing right now tonight. Adjust the schedule. Nobody cares. Just adjust the schedule with what the series does before. We're losing momentum. We're losing fan base. We're losing energy by the fact that we finished the series and we're waiting basically a full week.
Yeah, it's not like Super Bowl week. Super Bowl week, there's a build up. There's a different event every day leading into it. Baseball, it's just, we're just chilling out for 5 days. We'll see you on Friday. Hope you come back. Yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully you guys show up.
Yeah, hopefully y'all show up. I want to talk more with David Aardsma about this World Series. We'll get into the Dodgers, what both teams need to do in order to come out on top in this series. Sports Wrap continues. Don't go anywhere. We are pumped for the World Series, which gets started on Friday night. Yankees and Dodgers in Los Angeles. Game 1. Flaherty versus Cole. Flaherty versus Cole. How do you analyze the matchup, David Aardsma?
Well, really, it comes down to, a Cy Young winner last year, a guy struggling a little bit to come back to this year, hasn't really, regular season didn't really hit that really true spot where he was just dominating games. And you got Flaherty, who, had been coming back from an injury, right? And finally kind of hitting a little bit of a stride for himself. but then some struggles, major struggles, especially in the playoffs. So Garrett Cole has gone out there and given you a solid outing every single game he's basically pitched. He had one little game there where he struggled a little bit, but then he was still able to give you innings. And that's the thing about it. That's where I see the difference here is Garrett Cole seems to me like the ace he has been in the past. At the very least, you know what you're getting. You know he wants the ball, and he's just fighting for every single out. And I'm trusting Garrett Cole a lot right now. Flaherty, you know he's got the stuff. You know he's got an amazing ability. He's had some of the best stuff in baseball at times when he's been healthy. But I don't know if I can trust him or anybody to that matter on that Dodgers pitching staff where I'm standing behind him going like, yeah, I got your back. But that's really been the Dodgers and how they treat the bullpens and starting rotation throughout their playoff history in the last 5 years, where you don't look at that Dodgers team and like, yeah, these starters are going to give me 5 every day. They're not. They're going to go to the bullpen really quick and early. So it's okay if Flaherty struggles because they're going to go that bullpen no matter what.
The Yankees win this World Series if they do blank.
If their starters go deep into ball games. And that's that. If their starters go deep into ball games, they're controlling games, and I think they will. I think these starters are going to be able to go deep. They are a point better. The pitching for the Yankees has been a run better than the Dodgers throughout the playoffs. They played roughly the same amount of games, a little less on the Yankee side. So if they are able to go deep into games, they're controlling the game onto their type of, and how they've been able to control these games. And you give those batters enough chances in close games. I'm not betting against those couple guys in the middle of that lineup.
The Dodgers win this World Series if they do what?
If they can keep their bullpen healthy and just consistently dominating. It's got starting rotation for them. I think is just out the door. It just you just get me a couple innings. Hopefully you can get whatever you can get.
It's just insane. That is just mind blowing to me that we are talking about a team in the World Series, and I know they've had all these injuries, and we've talked about this before. But it is mind blowing to me that we're basically talking about a Dodgers bullpen World Series, basically. I mean, that's crazy to me. And they've got a shot to win a World Series. They are the favorite they are the betting favorite right now to win this.
Favorites.
They are -1. They are -122.
I would say this.
They are -122. The Yankees are +104 according to FanDuel.
We did a fun thing on my show Closers where we went through every man in the lineup and like who would you take? What, second base, first base, right field, DH, all this stuff. It was overwhelmingly offensively. You're taking Dodgers, overwhelmingly, right? So man for man, I'm taking Dodgers. But when you got to pitching, it wasn't even close. It was Yankees by far. Yankees bullpen's been better or borderline almost exactly the same, but that rotation's been much better. So when you're going through this, it's an interesting give and take, especially with the Dodgers' history of being a pitching heavy team.
Yeah.
But they're able to control it with using that bullpen. Andrew Freeman, and this is what he did with Tampa. This is what he did. This is how Tampa became so good, was be able to control the pitching using bullpen assets. And they've got so many good bullpen assets, but they have to be able to manage that. They can't go out there every game and expect 7 games, 6 games, whatever the series is going to be, and be bullpen strong every single time. They're going to have hiccups. They're going to have a bullpen day. I still don't even understand how that's possible in this day and age and the amount of money they put in, that they're going to have a bullpen day. It's just a matter of who's going to screw up. Somebody's going to screw up that day. Can the Yankees lineup take advantage of that? And then at the same time, can their pitching just shut down the Dodgers lineup? You really have 3 guys in that lineup you have to shut down. And outside of that, you just can't let those other guys like the Muncies, the Taylors, whoever it is that's in there that day cause the trouble.
Give me a minute on Juan Soto. And a guy coming over in free agency to New York, and we've seen so many guys wilt, and in this case, via trade to the Padres. But we've seen so many players wilt in these situations coming to New York, and he has been the complete antithesis of that. David, try and put into perspective, in the history of baseball, what we're seeing from Juan Soto right now.
A batter at his age on this type of platform, right? When again, you said coming to New York,
Yeah.
free agent year, walking into your free agent year, and you're massive. I mean, a massive free agent year when a guy right before you got $700 million and, he was a right fielder, now DH, all that pitching, all that stuff. But, Judge right before that, getting that massive contract. So it's not like just you're going to get a big deal. You're going to get a massive deal. You're a record setting type of deal. And he's able to every single at bat, every single swing, almost raise that dollar figure in the most important games. And that's the thing about it. You can't find a situation. It's almost like he goes to San Diego and there's not enough pressure for him to succeed. This is a type of batter who wants more pressure, more pressure, more pressure. And how many times have we ever seen that in the history of baseball? And on the biggest stage, in the biggest, with the brightest lights, in the biggest place, and he just keeps up in his dollar value. It's insane.
I've got 10 seconds. Who wins the series? How many games?
Dodgers in 6 for Fernando. Got to do it.
Everything you just told me was the Yankees, and now you're giving me Dodgers in 6?
There's going to be something. There's something about it.
Go.
There's something about it.
I got to go. You're killing me, Aardsma. Welcome back. Sports Wrap continues on this Wednesday. Let's talk some basketball, baseball, New York style, good pizza. Our friend Kavitha Davidson hangs out with us. Talk about all of it. It's got to be a wild time to be in New York. I was looking at the ticket prices. Only Kavitha Davidson could afford Yankees-Dodgers tickets
not even Kavitha Davidson
for game 3 of the World. If you can afford to live in New York, you can afford Yankees-Dodgers tickets. Let's go. Come on. I mean, what's the get-in price for game 1? I think they said was like $1,300 at Dodger Stadium. I would imagine the Yankees is going to be something similar. I think this is going to be, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this because you're never afraid to chime in on the media stuff too. I think this is going to be the highest rated World Series of our generation. I think of the last 25 years, this will be the highest rated from a TV standpoint World Series. You think so?
I think in recent years, for sure. I think it's hard for 25 years just because of the nature of how people are consuming media now and just the overall decline in people watching sports and baseball. But compared to last year, I think for sure, we had a fantastic series between the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, but not a ratings juggernaut by any stretch. But people are still mad at this matchup too. So I think there's no making anybody happy here.
Wait,
they were
who's
mad when
mad?
it's small market teams. They're mad when it's the Dodgers and the Yankees. There's no pleasing.
Yeah, but Dodgers and Yankee fans are everywhere. They're two teams whose fan bases travel. Who are scattered all around the country. I mean, my God, I cannot think of a World Series in my lifetime, and I'm not one that is wont for hyperbole. I can't think of a World Series with more star power than this thing has, Kavitha.
I mean, we're going to get 500,000 people at least watching just from Japan, right? I mean, it's absolutely true. We have the Dominican contingent with Juan Soto, and as you said, there's just so much star power here. But it's going to be fun to watch. This was obviously the dream matchup for Major League Baseball. This was what Rob Manfred has been kind of probably hoping for all along. And listen, I'm a native New Yorker. I'm a Yankees fan. I make no bones about that. It has been a great time in New York. You're right, though. Ticket sales are out of control. I've got a crew that I've been lucky. I've been to every home game this postseason so far at Yankee Stadium. And I think there's not really, we were talking about it this morning. I don't know if there's a way that we can make it to Yankee Stadium. Standing room only tickets at face value are currently on Ticketmaster for more than $1,100.
Stop it. Wow.
Yeah, I always tell people. Resale.
That's great. That's not resale?
That's not resale. On Ticketmaster, it'll say verified reseller or standard. And I had to look at it 8 times and it said standard and it was $1,116, I believe.
That's just gross. It really is. When you really think about it for a moment here, not to get all, moralistic and on my high horse and all that stuff, but we're just shutting out everybody.
I looked at the face value tickets and obviously those have been sold out for a long time. But the cheapest ticket for face value at Yankee Stadium was under $250 for a World Series game. I think that's fine. It's not great, but it's the resale market that's really messing everything up right now.
It cracks me up though, because not to get political, they're going to tell us the economy's terrible.
Right.
Show me an empty stadium in the playoffs. Show me an empty stadium on Sunday in the NFL. And all I hear about is how terrible the economy. But all these seats are filled up. You're going to tell me they're all rich people putting on the Viking costume and banging on a drum? Are you kidding me?
I will say this Yankees series does bring me back to when I was in high school and I would save up my summer internship money to buy the one season ticket package that I could afford, which was this 15-game Sunday package, because it would allow you to buy face value postseason tickets. So I'm rooting for those season ticket holders who have been here all season and for years, who are now able to go to the World Series for not $1,100 for standing room.
I turn around and people could see my big bald head, and I do it because I'm literally it's a true story. I have an old Bible, an old like hotel Bible that I grab, and I have for years been stuffing tickets from playoff events into this thing, and here's main reserve MVP seats for a Yankees-Twins game in 2002, $33. You can't get into a bleacher seat these days for that price. And I was going through these, and I mean, the prices are just insane. Bleacher seats, Yankee Stadium, 2004 for the Rockies, $8. $8. I mean, it's insane when you look at these numbers, and how unaffordable it has become for the average person to go to a game. Are you going to go to a World Series game?
I don't think I can afford to right now. I will say I might have a couple of face value ins that I would be able to get in with, but as of now, I can't spend $1,100 to $1,300 on a game.
Give me a prediction on the series.
It's going to be so tight, Jason. I think it's going 7, which my heart, listen, for as up and down as the Dodgers-Mets series was, every single one of those games was a blowout. Yeah. I have not had anything but close games throughout this entire postseason. The Yankees have the edge on rotation, and they showed that they could get through formidable bullpens, which the Dodgers do have. I think that the Yankees lineup is slightly longer. There's just it's really going to come down to whether Aaron Judge can properly show up in this World Series. You know, Giancarlo Stanton and Juan Soto are doing their jobs right now. So I think it's going to be close. I don't want to give a prediction to jinx anything, but I think we're going 7.
All right. By the way, if you see Kavitha in her building, don't talk to her about sports. She talks about it for a living. Leave the woman alone. Kavitha Davidson, always appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Jason.
We're coming back with more Sports Wrap. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. Sam Yarnell returns tomorrow to hang out with us. A reminder, Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast is available. Anything you miss from the show, available every day in a tidy, 45-minute podcast because we take the commercials out. Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast available on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can check out the show there. Without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. It's just me. Lakers and Celtics winners on opening night in the NBA. In the case of the Celtics, wow, they ran roughshod all over the Knicks. A record-setting or a record-tying performance from three-point range. I think they had 17 threes in the first half alone, and they had tied the mark with like 7 or 8 minutes left in the game. Couldn't hit a three down the stretch to break the record. They just shot the lights out in this game. And most importantly, and I think most impressively, was the fact that you see a lot of teams on opening night after winning a championship that kind of hit the snooze button. Hey, wake us up when it's March. Wake us up after Christmas. This Celtics team looked like a team that still had something to prove. And you've got two players on that roster, in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who do feel like they have something to prove. Jaylen Brown left off the Olympic team. Jason Tatum on the Olympic team, but might as well not have been on the Olympic team because he didn't get much run anyway. So you have guys who still feel like they have something to prove. And, the Celtics, there's a tradition of greatness there. They don't want to just be a Celtic team that won a championship. They want to be a Celtic team in a group that wins multiple championships. Now, it remains to be seen what happens over an 82-game schedule, and there's going to be nights where they don't shoot it this well, but an impressive performance on night one against a team that is thought to be one of the teams that could challenge them in the East, and it wasn't even close. Celtics win, Lakers win as well, and on a night where so much of the news will be surrounding LeBron and Bronny James getting together and playing in a game together for the first time. While all of that is great, at the same time, you have to take a moment and talk about how great Anthony Davis was in this game. I mean, Anthony Davis was out of this world. Oh, there's Bronny and LeBron, and Bronny didn't have any points in the game. And let me just say this about the LeBron James, Bronny James stuff. We got to see it for a few minutes. He got his few minutes of run with dad. It's a great story. It's cool. The family was courtside. All of that is wonderful. Now let's get him to the G League and improve his game and find out what he is long term. Because this is a project. This is not a guy. I know there's people who I saw a story yesterday where they were like, Bronny James is this dark horse pick that, sports bettors are going out and putting money on. If you're putting money on Bronny James to win Rookie of the Year, I'll take the line from Vegas Vacation. Just hand me your money, I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day. Because there is no chance Bronny James is winning a Rookie of the Year. He might be a good player long term. Who knows? He might be a great player long term. But the key words are long term. LeBron, a fairly pedestrian performance last night, but great win for the Lakers on opening night to beat a T-Wolves team that's obviously going to be a challenger in the West. Shohei Ohtani's 50th home run ball, the one that sent him into the 50-50 stratosphere, has auctioned off again. This time, $4.39 million at auction. Wow. $4.39 million for a baseball. Previous record for a record-breaking home run ball was $3 million in early 1999 for the Mark McGwire record-breaking 70th home run ball. We don't know who bought this one, but clearly they have a lot of money. 4.4, almost $4.4 million. Congratulations to whoever won the auction on that. Last but not least, Major League Baseball lost a true icon on Tuesday night. Fernando Valenzuela passed away. And still a relatively young guy, and no cause of death has been given. But a lot of people are taking time out to remember Fernando and the 1980s of Fernando Mania. Looking at his no-hitter here that he threw, I believe against Cincinnati Reds. And truly a special player, a special pitcher, a cultural phenomenon, if you will. Fernando Valenzuela passing away on Tuesday, on the eve of the World Series beginning. There will be some heavy hearts. He was a broadcaster with the team after his career ended. Had taken some time and stepped away recently to address some health issues. And our thoughts and condolences go out to Fernando Valenzuela's family and the Dodgers family on his passing on Tuesday. And that is how we wrap up this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Thanks again for stopping by. Thank you to Kavitha Davidson. Thank you to David Aardsma. Thank you to Matt Verderame. And thanks to you for tuning in. We'll be back on Thursday. Sam Yarnell returns. Who knows what we'll be talking about at that time? I'm Jason Page. Thanks for hanging out with us.